Saying, okay, no, you guys, you're the one fueling the armed group there. Do you think that for the reputation of those companies, they'll be still sourcing from this region? They said, okay, we are stopping, and that's what happened.
In terms of possibility for leaks in the supply chain?
Soon after the law passed, companies took their business elsewhere. Sales of tin ore from this province plummeted by more than 90%.
Ah, the containers.
So you'll be seeing that's the material ready to be really exported. So we are doing almost 2 containers, while we used to do 8 containers per month.
The only way John or anyone in Congo can now legally export to the U.S. is by opting into a system that traces the origin of the minerals.
Yes, I can show some tags. So those are the tags we do have.
So these tags are attached to the bags of minerals that come here?
Yeah.
So the bags that we saw in there?
Yes.
At mines that are determined to be conflict-free, bags of minerals are tagged with a numeric code.
This entire traceability system rests on these tags?
Yes.
Exporters have to pay fees to take part in the tagging system, an extra cost that's passed all the way down to the miners.
But we're working now at 20% of our normal capacity.
International prices have also dropped recently, compounding the losses from the Dodd-Frank law.
How do you survive? I mean, you must have lost so much money.
A lot of money. So those who did that thinking that they helped Congo, they didn't help Congo at all. It harmed thousands and thousands of Congolese. You completely killed the business. If that was really your aim, you did very well, but you didn't help DRC at all. You did it.
The tagging system has been criticized for being not only expensive, but also slow to implement.
We're on our way to meet Maxime Mwange, who helps the DRC government determine which mining sites can be certified as conflict-free.
The reality is that artisanal mining is the subsistence way most of the communities in Eastern Congo survive on. For them, it is from the soil to the pocket to the stomach.
How many mine sites have been certified?
160 mine sites have been validated in Eastern Congo.
In the whole country?
The whole country. This is less than 10%
of the total number of mines?
Of the potential of artisanal mining.
You said only 160 mines are certified, right? And that's where the tags come from?
Yeah,
those are the minerals that are actually tagged.
Yes.
So the rest of the mines in the country, right? How do they sell their minerals if they don't have tags?
Well, I don't know. This is a good question for government.
If 90% of the mines in eastern Congo aren't yet certified to use the tagging system, what's happening to all of those minerals? We got a tip about a mine in a place called Nyabibwe, the very first in eastern Congo to be certified as conflict-free. We stopped within sight of it, but weren't able to get close. Until last year, Nyabibwe was part of a project piloted by companies like Philips, Intel, and Motorola that was held up as proof that minerals could be traced from mine to export. But a source told us that untagged minerals had been brought here illegally, mixed in with the tagged minerals, and passed off as conflict-free. To find out more, we headed to a remote mining village called Numbi, a 6-hour drive even deeper into the mountains.
We're just arriving in Numbi. It's one of the largest mines in the area and the most recent one to be certified.
It's been 4 years since UN forces and the Congolese army cleared this area of armed groups, but it's only recently been designated conflict-free. In Numbi, we met Ombeni Chikala, a supervisor at a local tin mine. For 15 years, he's made his living as a miner, starting as a digger and working his way up.
Hii kazi nilikuwa nasiporte kila mtu. Mekwa leo tangia hii minere shuke vitu vinashanje sana. Unakuta asubuhi sio mtu kutoka kunyumba. Siko capable tena hata kusema sema za kunywa chai. Ndio kwa sababu unakunywa chai ndio natoka naenda. Mimi siko capable tena kutumia chai. Nikikunywa chai manake wanabakia hawatakunywa chai.
On the day we visited Ombeni's mine site, agents logged and tagged a 6-kilo bag of tin. A process required for every single mineral shipment leaving Congo to be legally sold in the West.
Have you heard of the Dodd-Frank law?
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
Antuka inakuwa mbaya sana. Juu gisi ilikuwa mbele wakati sheria ikuwaka ilikuwa mzuri. Mekwa leo ile sheria mimi na haina taki maana sana. Juu nasumbua njoo shii.
Are miners across this region affected by the system of traceability and by the Dodd-Frank law?
Sana juu shibote manake ile inatusumbua shibote hivi tukua unaona gisi makari yote kwa hapa unaona gisi hakuna shimu nya haina minerea hapa mebote bako benya biko bashwa RDC bashaacha.
Jean Ngerageze is the president of a local mining cooperative.
La loi Obama est venue aussi nous expliquer que les minéraux doivent bénéficier beaucoup d'avantages à ces creuseurs-là qui creusent. Et là, le minerai que nous produisons, nous, ça enrichit le monde. Le monde, nous restons toujours pauvres. C'est ça le grand défi. C'est ça le grand défi. Voilà.
We asked Jean how miners here were able to make a living before the site was certified.
Did you have the same system 6 months ago?
De Magouille, les gens de Nyabibwe venaient prendre les négociants descendaient avec les minéraux d'une façon la camouflée jusqu'à Nyabibwe et à partir de Nyabibwe, ils taguaient. Et puis nos minéraux étaient comptés au compte de Nyabibwe parce que nous, on n'avait pas de tag.
Nyabibwe is the mine that was held up as a model by Western companies.
So before this mine was certified, minerals were taken from here to Nyabibwe and tagged there as if they were part of Nyabibwe's production?
Oui, c'est correct. C'est connu par tout le monde. C'est connu. C'est pas une réalité à cacher. C'est connu.
We're in Bukavu, the capital of South Kivu, to meet with Abbas Kayonga.
Hello. How are you? Very nice to meet you. Anjali. How are you doing, sir?
Abbas heads the anti-fraud division of the Ministry of Mines here. When we told him we'd heard minerals had been tagged and sold illegally in Nyabibwe, he said the site is currently under investigation.
What can you tell us about incidents of fraud happening in Numbi and Nyabibwe?
Les minéraux proviennent de Nyabibwe, mais ils n'ont pas une grande quantité à comparer de ces produits qui proviennent de Numbi dans les documents.
So you're saying the amount that's produced in Nyabibwe is not very high, but the amount that's exported is very high.
Dans les documents, vraiment, c'est trop grand, une grande quantité.
Abbas and his agents track minerals from uncertified mines that arrive in the city. He told us that in the last 7 months, they've intercepted 52 tons of illegal tin. He took us to a boat landing along Lake Kivu, one of the major conduits for mineral smuggling here.
And how do your agents find out about this?
Donc j'aime les gens qui font la pêche. Ils travaillent avec les gens qui ont la pêche et dès qu'on les intéresse pour transporter, ils viennent transporter, ils me téléphonent, ils disent non, aujourd'hui nous avons un rendez-vous, à 19h nous allons traverser, ou bien à 6h du matin nous allons traverser. Ils me communiquent par téléphone et puis j'apparais.
And it takes place on little boats like this?
Oui, ça prend, il y a des fois ça passe par les bottes, des petits bottes comme ça. Ça prend même 1 tonne ou bien 500 kilos. Dernièrement, nous avons attrapé, c'était 800 kilos, avec une petite boîte comme ça.
Are most of the minerals that are smuggled across the lake, are they tagged minerals or untagged?
Untagged.
Untagged. And where are they mostly going to? What's the number one destination?
You know, ça c'est la frontière du Rwanda.
Namna gani itavuka, inafika pale kubariere pale. Basoda tu ndio wenyewe biko wanapitisha tu fundi. Hakuna vitu vingine.
Back in Goma, we tracked down a government whistleblower who asked to remain anonymous. He gave us more information about how smuggling takes place across the land border with Rwanda. He described how minerals travel through checkpoints with impunity, and in some cases, women are paid to conceal them under their dresses.
Takamata sa banamuke 10, banamuke 20 wala 30 wote wanavuka na ile minere. Ile ni complicité ya basoda ya huku Kongo na basoda ya Rwanda. Akishafika pale hakuna kubasi.
What happens to the minerals once they get to Rwanda?
Basi babu kisha tuvuka bariere unaenda tu Rwanda. Huko na minere na pale pale wanaitia tagi. Itakuwa exporte kwako. Wanatia tu tagi na wanajua haiko ya kwako.
We wanted to test if we too could buy tags on the black market. To do that, we needed to speak to a smuggler, whom we found through an anonymous lead. Over the course of several conversations, he finally agreed to make a deal. He would sell us tags and export documents from a Rwandan company for 2 70-kilo bags of tin. We agreed to meet at a local guest house. That morning, the place was crowded, and we could see security guards from the window. The smuggler, let's call him James, was late. When he finally arrived, he warned us that he was taking a great risk and agreed to an interview only if we concealed his identity.
This is all the paperwork that goes with the tags.
Donc, vous pouvez écrire tout ce que vous voulez ici. Votre identité, Boana. Donc, ça vous donne la permission. Donc, ces procurations vous donnent la permission de circuler librement avec les produits que vous avez. Peu importe, ça peut être le coltan, la cassiterite ou l'or flamme, dans toute l'étendue du Rwanda.
And this is a real tag?
Yeah.
Genuine tag?
James told us he'd been selling tags and certification documents for 5 years.
Vous savez, notre pays, c'est l'enfer. C'est l'enfer des minerais. Il y en a partout. Hein? Bon, vous voyez, c'est comme s'il y a quelque chose qui se présente. C'est une chance que tout le monde veut saisir. Il y en a, et c'est pas seulement moi, même les autorités sont impliquées, les militaires sont impliqués. Donc, et il y a beaucoup de personnes qui profitent aussi de cette activité-là.
When you do this for regular clients, how many tags do you usually bring?
Là, je ne peux pas vous dire exactement les nombres parce qu'il y a beaucoup de sociétés minières au Rwanda, clandestines, je dirais, et tout ont des tags. On les livre les tags selon leur demande. Mais bien sûr que les Rwandais viennent là pour vérifier ce qui se passe, combien de tags ils ont livrés, mais les magouilles ne manquent jamais. Si je vous dis qu'il y a combien de personnes qui en a nombré.
How many tags have you smuggled in total?
Et pendant ces 5 ans-là, quand j'en avais envie, j'en ai trouvé. Vous comprenez, je ne peux pas dire que c'est autant de tags parce que c'est beaucoup.
We left Congo and crossed over the border into Rwanda to meet with the minister in charge of mining.
One thing we heard a lot in the eastern DRC was about minerals that get smuggled from eastern Congo into Rwanda and then get tagged in Rwanda and then are sold through the traceability system. How are you dealing with that problem?
I think the critical thing for any country is to have a system to be able to track and trace anything. So Rwanda has tried, and I'm happy to say that it has a system which works.
So you're 100% confident that none of your agents can be bribed or sort of influenced, or minerals aren't coming in late at night when they're not working and getting mixed in?
I think that all the minerals produced, processed, extracted from Rwanda are mined legally, and there are no conflict minerals in Rwanda or conflict minerals leaving Rwanda. And I'm 100% confident about that.
With so many holes in the supply chain, how can technology companies be so certain about where their minerals are coming from? Has the tagging system made it easier to overlook what's happening on the ground? The London-based advocacy group Global Witness pushed for the law and has played a key role in holding companies accountable.
The law requires companies to do what is known as due diligence, which is a series of supply chain checks. So the tagging is effectively a safeguard for some companies, but when it comes down to actually getting your hands on your supply chain and understanding what's going on along it, that's not happening. What we have to be very careful not to do is create a scheme that's simply papering over the cracks and allowing the same networks and the same power dynamics to work, but under a tagged scheme.
Dan Fahey says that criminal networks have already found ways to work around the tagging system. He spent 2 years as a UN investigator in eastern Congo.
Rather than have guys with guns at the mine site, you have the guys with guns sitting in the trading town, taxing the trade or otherwise deriving money from the exploitation and the smuggling of minerals, or directly engaging in the smuggling by using government army trucks to drive minerals to the border, which are smuggled across the border. So you have an adaptation that's taken place that Dodd-Frank has not addressed.
Do you think an approach like this would ever work in terms of coming up with a solution to the conflict in the Congo?
I think it's possible to have some type of system, but it needs to be designed in cooperation with local actors, with national actors, not engineered from outside like Dodd-Frank has been. It was some activists in Washington, D.C. who had a very simplistic understanding of conflict, and they presented that as anywhere there are minerals, there's conflict. Therefore, if we address the minerals issue, it will end conflict. But that's a very misleading and simplistic narrative that they created, and it wasn't true then, it isn't true now.
A Washington nonprofit called the Enough Project led the lobbying efforts for Dodd-Frank 1502, waging a high-profile campaign that drew in celebrities, consumers, and campus groups.
I just feel empowered to affect the change. I want my college to be conflict-free.
Together with Apple and Intel, they've claimed that their efforts have helped reduce violence in the Congo.
I'm going to the Enough Project to ask them about some of the consequences of the law they pushed so hard for. Hi, I'm Anjali. No, we were also just in Eastern Congo, and one of the things we heard from a lot of miners and people in the industry was they feel that this law that was supposed to help them has actually set them back and is actually hurting them.
Let's remember that the status quo before all of this went into place was mining territories that were controlled by armed groups who were holding a gun to the head of ordinary citizens who were being forced to mine. Those extreme levels of violence required a response.
Given that, all of the fraud that's been documented by the UN, is there such a thing as conflict-free minerals from Congo?
Absolutely, yeah. There are several conflict-free sourcing initiatives going on in Congo right now, and those are minerals that should go into the international market and end up in our products.
If you have minerals coming in, and then they're getting mixed in and bagged and tagged at the mine that's certified, there's no way of knowing what minerals are coming in.
This is a problem. This is a serious problem. And these conflict-free sourcing initiatives are works in progress. There are still challenges, but at least something is moving. At least there is a system in place to start to improve. And that with time, that will end up giving communities, what they've hoped for a long time, which is that the natural resources of Congo actually come back and benefit them.
I asked Holly about a statement by Intel that the company and their partners had reduced armed group profits by 55%.
You'd have to ask them about that statistic, if that's in their materials.
We did ask Intel, who said they'd gotten that figure from the Enough Project. Intel declined an interview with Faultlines, but in an email statement, they said they've taken unprecedented steps and made an extraordinary effort to put systems in place that provide reasonable assurance that their materials are conflict-free.
We're proud to say the world's first commercially available conflict-free microprocessors do just that.
The world's first conflict-free microprocessor?
Really, to say something is conflict-free, you'd have to have a presence at that mine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the entire year to be able to say for sure that there's no armed group presence, that armed groups are not taxing it, that minerals are not coming in from outside and being mixed and resourced.
And that isn't happening anywhere.
It's not happening, yeah. That's the sad reality of this.
Recently, UN investigators implicated several Rwandan companies in the illegal sale of tags and paperwork, including the one we purchased from, Somika. In eastern Congo, the link between minerals and conflict remains far from clear-cut, and the miners have questions of their own for Washington.
Nyi Amerike. Eske muliona kupunguza bei ya minere mu Kongo? Ndio ilikuwa kumaliza vita yenye iko mu Kongo, ubie ndio kuiendelesha.
What do you mean by increasing the war? How is it increasing the war?
Ya kwanza ni kusema nini? Angalia abo ni ba crezer, ni ba jeune. Hakuna mzee mwenye kumwao. Wakati deja biko desi na kazi banatumika. Eske bagisikia kwenye ngombe iko yenye bataiba. Akisha sasa akishaona kwa desi na kazi. Akikuta anasikia rebellion na lamuka mpore. Ataenda wala hataenda. Anapasha aende.
You know, solutions for Africa, for the region, for DRC, sustainable solution will be made by locals. And don't think that in your office in Washington, in London, in Paris, in Brussels, that you'll be implementing policies which will be helping us more here than as we are concerned. If you look at our families here, every Congolese you meet here, they will tell you that everyone somehow was affected by the war. How do you think that people who are in Europe will be, or in the US, will be more caring for us than ourselves? Because we need more peace than anyone else. This is our land, this is our country.